Okay, well, keep me posted if you guys decide to mobilize this way, and we'll try to get you situated and just like let me know if there's anything I can do to help support. All right. Whoa, that's questionable. I'll have to look into that. How many are you talking about?
Hey, gang. Ignore the message I sent out last night about planning for everything.
Sorry.
I'm going to send out new instructions this afternoon. Basically, families change their mind about immediate insurances and
Okay. Let me get you back. It doesn't go there? No. No, because it's like. Okay. All right. Sounds good. Okay, sorry, Dan. All right, thanks, bye.
How will the live stream be set up?
we're going to send you a link. There's a multimedia company that's doing it. They're gonna give us links. We're gonna put it on our platforms and we'll send it all to you.
I got the big
I don't. Just text me. Numbers thing. I mean, I'm sorry for the changes, guys. It's just
the big pull-up thing, the number? The big pull-up.
outside?
Yes, outside, yes.
Oh, where is
And I'll send logistical information. There's going to be a drive-by in the first district, and there's going to be a short event at the Susan Den tomorrow. But I'll have all that in.
Is it supposed to get taped?
Later on this afternoon, hopefully in the next 2 hours. We have a meeting at 12:30 like that, so I should know all that kind of logistical stuff, this afternoon when I send it. Contact HPD on that right now, because I have not been briefed on it, so at this point it's their investigation, they're gonna say what they can, and we don't wanna step on that anymore. Because I don't know at what point they're at. Okay. And that's the same answer you'll get from him. Okay. Unless something changes in the next 5 minutes.
Not yet. Not too. We run late, but not that late.
Just came out and said so.
I know, because last time I saw you guys, I said 10 to 15 minutes.
Well, we're still within your
Yeah.
phone
Yeah.
responsibility. Give like another 5 minutes on it.
I was trying not to come.
I'll be sure to walk back in when it's like 2 minutes till, so you guys know.
Yeah. Thank you.
No problem.
Wait, did she just say that we didn't have to?
She said she'll walk back.
2 minutes. Like the last couple minutes of the basketball game.
Yeah, 2 minutes.
One of the things I can't do, the two have nothing in common. So another thing I shouldn't do. Well, no, I don't know because it's here.
Anybody arrived that I did not get?
Hey, Terry. Hey, Terry. Terry. It's like old times, huh?
get out here. Good afternoon. Well, almost good afternoon. Good morning. Thank you all for being here, and thank you all for also being so patient. Was wanting to brief you at 11. My briefing ran over, and then wanted to get just a little more clarification before coming out this morning, but also more information, of course, as we move throughout the day, will be forthcoming. I am here this morning with Colonel Terry Everett, who is our Director of Public Safety and Homeland Security for the City of New Orleans, Colin Arnold, our Director of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness. I have, as you can see, Chief Ferguson, who is with us, New Orleans Police Department, Tyrell Morris, who is our Director of OPCD, Orleans Parish Communications District, very important. Dr. Jennifer Vegno, who leads our Health Department. We have Gassan Corbin, who is our Executive Director of the Sewerage and Water Board, and also joining us is Kelly Chandler, our Regional Director for our Flood Protection Authority East. So this morning, what we're going to do, and as you all know, I know that you've been watching, but the bottom line is, and the greatest takeaway is that we do have a major storm heading our way. We are activating every single resource at our disposal so that we are prepared to respond. You know, we plan for this all year long. We plan for this, and we communicate effectively with the residents of the City of New Orleans. And so at this time, we were briefed by the National Weather Service. This remains a very fluid situation, as most of these do, but very fluid. But we must and we will start seeing winds, as I'm told, as early as tomorrow night. Landfall is expected sometime on Sunday with heavy rains, as well as an impact overnight into Monday morning. Again, a very fluid situation, but we'll continue to monitor. The earliest reasonable time is late Saturday night. Preparations, as you should know, should be completed by this time frame. Again, your preparations completed by tomorrow afternoon. Later today, and really I've already signed the declaration in terms of making sure that this is, and we have in place the declaration of emergency, which will be filed with the courts by our city attorney, Ms. Sunny LaBeouf. Prior to this, I've rendered my signature already. At this time, I will be, and I am calling for mandatory evacuation of all areas outside of our levee protection system. All areas outside of our levee protection system. Definitely mandatory evacuation. If you have any medical needs or wish to voluntarily evacuate on your own, now is the time to start that. Voluntary evacuation. Now is the time to start. We know that threat levels may increase as confidence in the forecast continues to intensify. So we'll continue to monitor. We understand it's still fluid, but this is the time to take action. Lower lining areas outside of the protection system, mandatory evacuation. Voluntary evacuation for all others. The storm surge watch remains in effect for all of our coastal areas of southeast Louisiana as well as the coast of Mississippi. The good news too for us is that the Mississippi River is at a low of 4 feet. We're maintaining frequent contact with all of our local stakeholders as well as our authorities. I had a conversation with our governor earlier this morning, and of course, he stands ready to assist our city in any capacity that is needed. But that constant level of communication is happening, as well as with my parish presidents across our area, staying in contact. We started, as we always do, well into yesterday, even into the night and early into this morning. Some news that we just received not too long ago, a little bit prior to 10 a.m., is that our Saints game that was scheduled for Saturday has now been pushed up to 12 noon. So this puts added strain, of course, on the New Orleans Police Department, but we're confident that we're going to work through it. And what I mean by that specifically is that we do have a large funeral planned for Saturday, that being Detective Briscoe, which is now along the same time frame of the Saints game. However, the chief is in constant communication. He will do whatever's necessary, but at the same time, we have to ensure that our officers, all of our public safety officials and our teams can take care of their families so that they can immediately pivot to taking care of you, the city of New Orleans. The parking lot in our city, we've suspended any vehicles that are not city vehicles. So as we would normally open up and ask or pretty much provide access to our parking lots to those who are attending the Saints game, unfortunately, that has been suspended because we do have to take care of city vehicles in a timely manner, again, for us to be able to respond post-storm. Sanitation. Residents are encouraged absolutely to secure trash and recycling carts ahead of the storm. Everyone knows that we've had areas in our city that have been impacted significantly with trash collections and timely pickups, that of our contractor, Metro. If your trash is not picked up by Saturday, expect it not to be picked up until post-storm. So what that means, if it's not picked up by Saturday, bring those cans in, hold that debris. The city of New Orleans is planned and absolutely prepared to activate trash collections with our independent contractor based on emergency response. So residents, you will be able to get collections happening post-storm that will not be dependent at all upon Metro. I just want to make that very clear because we know, and as we've reported, they continue to be behind at least a day and a half. Bottom line, if it's not picked up in your area by Saturday afternoon, bring it in. Also, RTA. Well, will remain in full operations in terms of all transit modes as long as the weather conditions allow. Now, with RTA, much like Entergy, 35 miles per hour in terms of that wind factor will determine when we have to remove the full operations of RTA. So we'll continue to monitor that. I encourage everyone, text NOLA ready to 77295. This is so that you can receive timely text alerts from the city of New Orleans. I encourage, again, everyone to do so. This just provides great resources, and everyone, we need to be as connected as possible. As I've told my team in the briefings this morning, communication is our greatest tool, especially now. Activation of sandbags will be deployed starting this afternoon at 2 p.m. while supplies last. We have been in contact, of course, with the New Orleans City Council, and in my administration, I include them in my mayoral briefings as well. But as in the spirit of partnership and as we've indicated in the past, the sandbag collection and those stops are in tight coordination, not only with the fire department, but with the council members. So again, you'll get more information about those locations, which are consistent, the same locations that we've had previously. Our mandatory vaccinations, I did that mandatory requirement for all city employees that was expected to go into effect on Monday morning. What I'm doing is suspending that for 10 days so that that has no impact at all on our ability as a city and as public servants to respond to the needs of our residents as well as our visitors if that's necessary. If you need something, we need you to say something, and do not wait. So with that, I'm going to now turn it over to Colin Arnold, our Director of Homeland Security, of course, we will move down the line for briefings. We'll turn it over for Q&A to you, and we'll respond accordingly. So thank you all again. Colin? All right.
Morning, everyone. New Orleans Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness is closely monitoring Tropical Storm Ida, along with our public safety and infrastructure partners at the local, state, and federal level. As Mayor Cantrell mentioned, she's delivered signed a declaration of emergency, which should reflect this afternoon. Our city's emergency operations center up here on the 9th floor will move into a full hurricane activation as the storm approaches, anticipating starting up full 24-hour activation tomorrow, although staff is already there and has been working throughout this week looking at this storm. Being east of this storm's track is not ideal. We're anticipating significant impacts, including tropical storm force or stronger winds that could cause downed trees and prolonged power outages. Heavy rain in excess of 10 inches that could, and now that's over a day or two, could cause significant street flooding. And obviously our storm surge is a concern outside of our levee system, which, right now projecting 7 to 11 feet. Again, that's outside levee protection, which necessitated that mandatory evacuation the mayor just spoke of, outside levee protection. We have a hurricane storm surge and flash flooding watches up right now. They came up last night. That's the 36-hour mark. You can anticipate warnings coming out at the 24-hour mark, which should be this afternoon. For these reasons, we're making the following announcements. As the mayor mentioned, we're calling for a mandatory evacuation of areas outside of the Hurricane Storm Damage Risk Reduction System, the levee system. That includes Lake Catherine, Irish Bayou, Venetian Isles. These residents are very familiar with the weather and familiar with these situations. We know that that should start now because, as you'll hear from Regional Director Chandler, with our Flood Protection Authority, great partner, the Highway 90 and Highway 11 floodgates will close at some point tomorrow afternoon. We do this because, one, 7 to 11 feet is significant, and two, it becomes increasingly difficult to move in and out that area of those areas once those floodgates are closed. You still have access through St. Tammany Parish, but it does make it more difficult. So be safe if you're living outside of levee protection in Orleans Parish. Again, the mayor mentioned all evacuations are voluntary. We do have a voluntary evacuation for Orleans Parish inside the levee system. Dangerous winds and rain pose a significant threat inside the levee system as far as street flooding, but mainly power outages. We believe, as we saw from Zeta last year, we will have significant power outages. If you are elderly, if you are dependent on power, if you have medical conditions that dictate it, if that evacuating is your best choice, you need to take that responsibility seriously and start now. Should, this strengthen further, we'll address that. Parking on neutral grounds and sidewalks will be allowed tomorrow starting at noon. I would pay attention today because we were under a flood advisory earlier today just for normal rain. And what I would say about that is when we're on the east side of a storm, don't focus on the storm itself. We will get those bans before, leading up to the storm coming ashore, and we will have bans coming in after. So Monday is still in play as well as far as gusty winds, not hurricane force winds, but gusty winds and potentially heavy amounts of rain. So we're certainly on the wetter side of this storm, and we need to pay attention to that. I want to be clear that we are really focusing on this storm's intensity, which is the most difficult thing the Weather Service will tell you to predict. It's very difficult to predict. We're at a tropical storm right now. We know that potentially it could come ashore as a 3, as either, this morning a lower level 3, it could be a mid or higher level 3. We are looking at that. What they have seen, though, is consistency in track, which is good as far as, the track of this storm moving towards the central Louisiana coast. Please continue to pay attention. It's going to be the most important thing because these things change frequently. We watch every day. We watch every 4 hours as these advisories come out. We're constantly tracking this weather. We ask that the public do the same. Gather your emergency supplies. Evacuate if you feel that is the best solution for your individual needs. Check on loved ones and heed our warnings. The best way to do that, ready.nola.gov. We have an entire website dedicated to these types of situations. Text NOLA READY to 77295. and follow us on social media at NOLA Ready, all platforms. We will continuously update you with everything that we know, when we know it, and any changes that come forward. And we will get through this like we've gotten through so many storms before. We all remember last season. We know that August 29th is a very critical date in our city's history and in all of our collected memories. But that date has also taught us to be ready and to be resilient, and that's what we're going to do together. Thank you.
Thank you, Colin. Thank you very much. And I'm going to move it forward. Dr. Jennifer Begnaud, the New Orleans Health Department.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Hi, everybody. Once again, we find ourselves dealing with a natural disaster in the midst of a pandemic. And so our plea and our hope is that everyone will prepare for both very seriously and very thoroughly. So while you're making your plans, whether that is to stay with family and loved ones, whether that is to go elsewhere, please make sure you are making plans to stay healthy and safe. And the way you do that is by masking when you are not with people when you are with people that you don't normally live with. Please mask to stop the spread, whether you are going somewhere or just going to someone's house down the street. Make sure you're cleaning thoroughly, as you always have. Distance as much as possible. Avoid large crowds. And if you have not been vaccinated, there is still time to do that today. We urge you to do that, to give yourself just that extra protection. If you are vaccinated, thank you. That will help us prevent an outbreak coming from the aftermath of the threat here. I will say that if you are someone or a family member of someone who has medical special needs and you're not on our special needs registry, please call 311 and we can get you put on the registry so that we know who you are and where you are in the event that the storm does make a hit and things change. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Begnaud. Director Morris.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good morning, everybody. OPCD stands ready to respond to the needs of our residents and our visitors as Tropical Storm Ida approaches our area. The agency did go on standby status this morning at 7 a.m. and just prior to this briefing, I did give the order to elevate our staffing level to level 2 tomorrow at 7 p.m., 1900 hours. What that means is staff that were normally off, 50% of them are called in and they will begin to work. So the agency staffing will increase by 50%. The reason why that's critical is that we have to make ourselves available to respond to the needs of the special operations from the public safety agencies and the particular needs of our city residents once the storm makes landfall. I have placed our state resources, our telecommunications emergency response task force on a pre-alert status to respond to the New Orleans area should the need arise. We've made special requests to the state to increase our infrastructure support around public safety communications for our public safety agencies to ensure they remain online to meet the needs of you all on the ground. One way you can help us, exercise a little patience. 911 should be reserved for life-threatening emergencies only. Please, I cannot stress that enough. If you have a non-emergency, you can call our 10-digit non-emergency line at 504-821-2222 or call 311 and press 1 for a public safety non-emergency. 311 and 911 will remain available throughout the duration of this event, 24 hours a day. Again, 911 is for life-threatening emergencies only. If you are a family that is experiencing or may have a special need and you have not registered for the special needs registry, please call 311. Our staff are there now to make that registration happen, and also the special needs call center is also stood up to process those as well. If you have a general 311 normal complaint that's not related to the storm, I ask that you text those to us, please, and reserve the phone lines for individuals who do not have the technology in place to do so. You can text yes or hello to 311-YES, and our virtual robot will answer your question just like as if you're speaking to a person on the phone. So if you need to request a large item pickup, as you would request a catch basin that needs to be cleaned, all those things are important to us, and we need the information to ensure we respond the best way possible. But leave the phone lines open for individuals who cannot go to the website, nola.gov/311, or text us at 311-YES. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Director Morris. And so we're going to keep it going. Deputy CEO of Infrastructure, Ramsey Green.
Thank you so much, Mayor. Really just a few things. One, if you are on the roads, drive safely. This time of year when we have these events, people get a little rattled when they're driving. We may have some traffic lights out. Approach them as if they're a four-way stop sign. That's a critical thing to keep our residents safe. We issued an order yesterday to all city infrastructure job sites to shut down today, wrap up, and remove items that could be flying through the air, something like that. Do the same on all job sites. If you're somebody renovating a house or something, walk around your house, walk around your project, secure materials down, do the same at your home. As the mayor said, sanitation operations will continue as normal today and tomorrow. If you are in a site where the sanitation is delayed and it's not picked up by the end of the day tomorrow, bring it in, not inside your house, just bring it onto your property a little bit off the public right-of-way so that debris does not end up into our public right-of-ways. Additionally, we instructed all contractors to cease all water line work. So if you are living on a job site area, we're not moving any valves, changing anything, ensuring that water access to all of our residents continues to be available. If you are walking around your neighborhood preparing your neighborhood, look in front of your catch basin. We don't need you to lift the lid. We don't need you to do anything dramatic. Just go out there with a pan and broom and sweep up leaves and other debris that may be sitting in front of the catch basin grid. That makes our job a little bit easier. All DPW maintenance crews have shifted to drainage operations over the last few days, and they continue to work. Additionally, Entergy New Orleans is working really closely with our team. They're putting updates out regularly as well, and they're hypersensitive and aware of the critical role that they play in sewage and water board operations. The airport is running as normal until otherwise noted. They've briefed all carriers. And one amendment, Mayor, to the RTA, they did shut down the Algiers Canal Street ferry. So ferry operations are ceased until after the event stops. And that's all I got. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ramsey. And so we're going to keep it going. And I need Director Gassan Corbin, Sewage and Water Board.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, everyone. We are at the Sewage and Water Board are fully staffed and are on high alert. And as the mayor stated, we have been preparing for this all year round, so we are ready. When it comes to our pumping capacity, out of our 99 pumps, we have 3 pumps that are down. And those are a pump at DPS 6. It's one of about 15 pumps, so that raises no concern. We have a pump down at DPS 14. Again, that is really not a concern. And we also have the one pump at Station 12 that is down. And then we know that is raising some concerns for the residents that this pump and that pump station serves. So I just want to spend a little time on that actual pump station. So just think about it this way. It's a one station that has one pump. And if you look at our system, it's built with a lot of redundancy. And the reason there's no other pumps in that pumping station is because the redundancy is provided by having 2 other pumping stations nearby that serve that immediate area, meaning DPS 6 and DPS 7. So we know it's not an ideal situation, but we also know that it's a very manageable situation. So again, another fact to share with you, a combination of DPS 6 and DPS 7, we serve about north of 15,000 acres of drainage. DPS 12 serves about 1,400. So we're adding about 10% to the DPS 6 and DPS 7 combined, so about 10% or less than that. So we're very comfortable that those 2 stations we will be able to handle just through the interconnectivity of the canals, that those 2 stations will serve the purpose and will alleviate any pressures of that DPS 12. And I'm happy to elaborate and answer questions after we're done later. All underpasses pumps are operational. And when it comes to power, turbine 5 is in service. We have turbine 6 is ready to serve as well. 4 of our EMDs are in service. 1 is down, being worked on. We're mitigating noise as we have promised publicly in the past, so 1 of them is down because of that purpose. But we're comfortable that the 4 EMDs will serve their purpose and provide about 10 megawatts of power. All of our frequency changers are also available, and what allows us to utilize either the turbine 6 or energy power. We know with the high-speed winds, we may encounter some outages, so we've been in close coordination and collaboration with our partners at Entergy in anticipation of that. We're also working very closely with our partners at the Flood Protection Authority, synchronizing our pumping to their pumping stations. We have been inspecting our canals and looking for any obstructions, any impediments, and we have drawn the levels down to allow for more storage for the incoming rain. And just one final point, obviously with the intensity of rain, just an unknown. We know what we can manage and we know what overwhelms our system. And I've said this before, and I say it again, our mission is obviously to stay ahead of the storm, stay ahead of the rain, and keep the city dry. But at one point, once our system is overwhelmed, our mission shifts from keeping the city dry to just pumping the city as fast as we can. So just want everyone to keep in mind, it's just a big unknown, and we're just going to manage it the best we can. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gassan. I'm going to ask now our Regional Director, Kelly Chandler. Please come on up.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning. The Flood Protection Authority East operates and maintains over 192 miles of levees, flood walls, flood gates, and sector gates. The system has been inspected. The gates have been exercised. We are confident it will perform as designed, that we are ready for the storm. Yesterday, we closed 24 land-based gates. Today, we expect to close another 27 gates, and the remaining 51 gates along the risk reduction system will be closed on Saturday. As Colin mentioned, the gates along Highway 90 and Highway 11, we're expecting to close those gates on Saturday afternoon. So as he mentioned, I encourage everyone that needs to evacuate to please do so. As has been stated, we tell the residents to be prepared, have a plan, be properly insured, and be ready for the storm. If you have any questions or need additional information, please visit our website at www.floodauthority.org. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Director Chandler. Colonel Abbott.
Challenge is something that we face in New Orleans on a daily basis. Some challenges larger than others, but we are blessed by a staff of professionals at the local level, at the state level, and the federal level that work together to provide the best resource development and utilization, I think, of any city in this nation. You're surrounded by the professionals who do this for a living, have done it for years, some of them over time, and the ability to adapt and overcome the challenges that we don't make the rules, we just react to the situation. So as we go into tomorrow and the next day, we will be reacting and modifying our plans, our operational procedures to adapt to the challenge that Mother Nature brings our way. We are already, I just met with the National Guard. Their lead elements have already started arriving in the city. So the FEMA is going to be here. So we'll have the state and the federal agencies to support us in this operation. But it is a challenge, and we know it's a challenge. And I really want to thank the media, who is our mouthpiece, to getting the important information out accurately and timely so our population can, in fact, react accordingly, make their own calls, and do the right thing for their family and their situation. This is a challenge down to the family level all the way to the national level. But it adapts and overcomes those objectives which are dictated to us by the changing elements of Mother Nature. But we are here to support everybody, and I'm asking everybody to support each other. the elderly person who lives next door, who you know needs help, you got to reach out and help them. This is an all-hands evolution. Nobody is exempt by Mother Nature. We're all going to feel an impact, and it's our ability to work together as a team and communicate back and forth with our civilians in the city, with you, the media, and with all the professional agencies that work these issues are what are going to determine how big a challenge we've got come Monday, when we got to look out and pick up the pieces and see where we're at. So thanks again for your cooperation and being here today and passing the word, because that's the only way we'll work together and communicate. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Colonel. Thank you so much, Colonel. You should also know that the our sheriff is embedded in my briefings as well. The sheriff has indicated he is moving forward with transporting the inmates that are currently in his care. I have instructed Director Webster, Dr. Webster, who is our director of the Juvenile Justice Intervention Center here in the city of New Orleans, to follow that same rhythm. We currently have 41 youth in our custody. Also, this is a perfect time, to look out for all of our people, making sure you also think about your pets, think about your plants, bringing those in. Check on your neighbors, make sure that you exchange proper information, contact information again, so that we collectively can be our best resource. We are first responders. Every resident in the city of New Orleans, you are a first responder. We learned this firsthand 16 years ago. Nothing has changed. Just the science has changed based on our ability to get more accurate information from the National Weather Service. So we have, and our communications have been improved as well over time. So I'm very confident in our ability to not only work together, but to respond to this threat that is before us at this time. So I will turn it over to you now, Ms. Leslie, for questions and answers.
David Hammer, WWL.
Mayor, we have a lot of street work going on throughout the city, a lot of stuff in midway process with street work, and catch basins not available on those streets, either covered up by the work or fewer of them as there were before. What's being done to address that? I know a lot of people in those neighborhoods are concerned.
Sure. Well, what was already reported as it relates to open construction sites, both public and private. As it relates to the public sites relative to our infrastructure throughout the city, those sites have been decommissioned. The contractors are responsible for protecting, as well as our storm drains, catch basins along those areas. So we're confident that that is happening. Of course, we will be making sure that we're managing that. We're providing the oversight necessary to ensure that we're responding in real time. So a lot of construction work happening, as you mentioned. It's progress in motion, but of course, in the midst of this type of threat, we've decommissioned those sites and have given clear direction to those contractors to maintain, button up all of those open sites. So that should be coming to a close.
But are there fewer catch basins available because of those in progress projects?
Fewer available? No. Those catch basins, as you know, relative to construction, there's a responsibility to protect those basins from even regular debris that could go into our drain lines while that area is under construction. We will monitor, we will respond as we need to, if in fact there are catch basins or drainage or drains that are not available to us at that time.
Ben Meyer,
Are there any shelter sites set up right now that the city is supporting?
No, we have Rosenwald, which is for our special needs only, but that will be set up and really responding in terms of post. We are coordinating and working right now with the state of Louisiana, as you know, that is responsible for identifying shelters outside of the city of New Orleans should residents need that capacity.
Should we be expecting I'm sorry to interrupt you.
But you will be expecting more information from us as we continue to monitor the impacts of this tropical storm Ida, as we continue to communicate and coordinate these efforts with our partners at the state level as well as the federal level. So we will continue to give you that information. As I said, this remains very fluid. Things are moving fast, and so we're going to stay in that constant communication mode and provide you with real-time updates as we can.
Mayor Cantrell, you referenced the NLT short staffing dealing with the Saints game tomorrow and then the funeral for Detective Everett. Kind of talk to us a little bit about what was the decision process in moving the game forward?
Well, that is not a decision that I made. My chief was informed, actually, when he was in my office right before 10 a.m. The initial notice didn't give us a time, but very shortly after, and even when I was on the phone with the governor, we were confirmed 12 noon. So that absolutely is something that we will respond to. We'll be able to manage it, no problem. But of course, logistically, it's just something that the chief has had to work out, given the fact that the game has now been moved up, and particularly as it relates to a large funeral that we're planning for Detective Briscoe that seems to be now aligned with the Saints game.
And then, I'm sorry, with the parking, street parking can you elaborate more on that? I was just a little confused.
Okay, so you know how we oftentimes, right, when things are even with basic rainfalls, but of course threats that are coming our way, we allow for our residents to utilize our neutral ground. And those advertisements will be coming out. They should be activated this afternoon. Just this is what we're saying. Stay tuned to us because we do, and as Colin mentioned, we are also under some threats right now, just regular rainfall. So just as we've done in the past, should we need to activate and allow residents to park on the neutral ground, we will absolutely do that. Not just in response to Tropical Storm Ida, but as we prepare for Tropical Storm Ida. What we want our people to do is when you pull on our neutral grounds, be slow and don't damage our vegetation. And so that's what we ask at this time. But stay tuned, more will come.
Mayor, please elaborate on your decision to call for just a voluntary evacuation inside the levee protection system as it relates to the storm, not really giving us a whole lot of time from formation to rapid intensification.
Sure, well, that's the issue. And this is what we've been saying, you know, as we have been communicating with the public as we prepare for hurricanes. We're seeing them coming faster, and it does prevent an even greater challenge for us to implement and move towards a mandatory evacuation. We're not seeing that right now, meaning mandatory, not now. But as we monitor, then that will be a decision, you know, that I will have to make. But also, as you know, moving towards mandatory, it does impact our ability to remain in contact and in close collaboration with our state partners, Contraflow and the like. That is not something we're doing right now. However, we're communicating with the state relative to the threats that this storm is bringing our way. So this is, but you're right on target with that.
What's your recommendation for citizens to monitor besides the obvious storm conditions that might trigger a mandatory evacuation inside?
Sure. So just as we called for mandatory evacuation of those communities that are outside of our levee protection system, I've also initiated a voluntary evacuation. That's where we are. And so what that means, this is your time, and you should move forward with the plans that I'm sure people have had in place as we've been pushing and asking. This is the time. And we're saying, do this now in preparation. But people should feel compelled to be responsible and to make their own decision based on a call for a voluntary evacuation.
What happens with people who are hospitalized with COVID? Are they being evacuated? Are they staying in the city? And what is the preparation for that?
Right now, as it relates to our hospitals, they are not being evacuated. The plan is to shelter in place. We'll continue to monitor that as well, but that also speaks to close communication and ties with the state of Louisiana that will determine ultimately what happens there. Dr. Vegno, anything to add there?
Hospitals are all very well familiar with plans during storm season. They're currently reviewing them, getting their staffing, and making arrangements. But right now, there is no plans to evacuate. Their capacity is limited, and the capacity of hospitals all around this region, from Texas to Florida, is extremely limited. So this does present some capacity challenges. So I would ask our residents, if you do not need to go to the hospital this weekend, if you do not have a life-threatening emergency, please do not go. Obviously, we will be available for you if you do have an emergency or some urgent needs, but this is not the time to go to the hospital for a routine thing that could wait until later.
Thank you, Dr. Vegno. And Colin and Ramsey, is there anything you needed to get me straight on? I kind of kept rolling with the questions. I didn't even turn anybody, so I'm just, okay.
I can say one.
Go ahead.
The city rents out Superdome parking, and we're not doing that because of the storm, because we will have people actively in this building all weekend, and so we will need that parking and just for response, and I think that's what you were referring to. The other thing is, if we have to go further in any kind of messaging, again, NOLA ready to 77295, you'll get alerts immediately from the city. And if we have to amp any of those things up, we also have the ability to participate in the integrated public alert warning system, wireless emergency alerts, those types of things that aggravate you when the phone goes off. We have the ability to do that and really reach out to everyone in the parish if we need to. So that would be a method of communication we could do too.
Thank you, Colin, for getting me straight on that. I guess I didn't hear your question accurately. However, I did respond in my remarks relative to suspending the use of our parking facilities for our own vehicles and the like in preparation.
Jimmy Price. I know we talked a little bit about the staffing issues as it relates to the funeral and St. Jenny. How are you guys handling that burden when we have this disaster that's coming to our area, this storm? I know we're going to be getting calls from people in the community. How are you guys prepared to handle that?
Well, it's not so much a staffing shortage, it's just how we deploy and respond to now a Saints game at noon, and of course a funeral that is expected on tomorrow. In addition to that is why I've asked and pushed very heavily for our public safety officials, our teams, our people who we depend on to take care of their families right now. This is the time. Take care of families so that they can immediately pivot to responding to the needs of the city. Chief, anything to add?
I think, as you said, Mayor, there's no understaffed right now. We're good right now. We're good. Everyone is working, will be working, and we actually are prepared to have everyone, all hands on deck, effective Sunday. So tomorrow, today, people are preparing their families, their homes, in order to be a better servant to our community throughout this storm. But we're going to adjust, and that is, I have a meeting immediately following this. As the mayor said, we were just informed just before her briefing at 10 a.m. that this game time has changed. So we will be meeting to discuss what that deployment will be. But right now, at this point in time, we do not have any concerns with regards to being able to adequately staff both the game as well as the funeral, as well as our deployment within our communities throughout the city.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you. Okay. Yes, sir.
I actually have a follow-up for Director Corbin.
Okay. Okay. What's the question?
So if you could explain a little bit more the DPS 12 situation, because I think people in northern Lakeview are concerned, as you say, 6 and 7 can pick up the slack, but we've had specific issues with the area around DPS 12 when we've had problems of, last year and previous to that in 2017. So how does DPS 6 and 7 pick up the slack for that if there's been specific flooding attached to problems at DPS 7?
Well, whatever issues that may have existed, those would be independent and set apart from the current situation. I think you may be referring to what may have happened in 2017.
2020 when it was falling backwards.
Right. So obviously, because of the pump itself is down completely, that eliminates that possibility of backflowing, right? So that whole thing is, that scenario is entirely eliminated, right? Obviously, it's an issue that has, it's an area that has some issues because of the elevations, but again, whatever rain that falls in that area will be collected, will be conveyed to either DPS 6 or DPS 7. It's just that simple. Just because the canals are all interconnected, and that's how it's designed.
And the total amount of power available, about 45 megawatts, that's less than the maximum that's been needed in May 3rd, 78, some of these other big ones.
We are very comfortable with what we have today, and we think it's sufficient power to power any of the pumps that we will need. Obviously, the redundancy is where we lack, and we are working very hard on T4, testing it tomorrow. I failed to mention that earlier, with the hopes that if the testing goes well, that it will be brought online, and then that will add about 18 megawatts automatically. So we're not going to rush it and damage or risk the actual turbine, but if we're hopeful that if it passes, it will be back online.
So 6 is the primary source, but 4 is not certain to be available.
T4 as of today is down. It will be tested tomorrow, and if the tests all go well, it will be back online. Okay, so that will generate 25 hertz power, as you know. So T4 and T5 will be side by side working and generating as all the power that really we need, which diminishes the need for EMDs, for example. Or
5 is back on.
5 is currently is on, and we're relying on it as the frontline machine. Yes.
And the test for T4, are those anticipated to be completed in time for the storm?
That's the plan. And again, I don't want to be hasty with it because again, it's a machine that's very fragile, as we all know. We're hoping that the tests will go well, and if they do, we'll put it online. So, but absent of the T4, we have sufficient power as of today. So.
Yeah, thank God for those frequency changes and all that. Yep, with that fair share to work. Well, go ahead, Leslie.
One follow-up for Kelly Chandler. The confirmation on the floodgate at Delman Road and Stars and Stripes, we heard that was removed for maintenance and such. Elaborate on that, and is there redundancy there?
Yeah, we do have several gates that are out in the system because they're getting repaired as part of our ongoing operation and maintenance. But we have 16,000 40-pound sandbags and 350 2,000-pound bags, and we have those ready to deploy. And so we will sandbag those areas as needed, and we don't expect that to be any issue in response to the storm.
How many, I guess, you went down a list of, I think, 7-something. How many of those are still going to need to be closed with sandbags as opposed to?
We have 6 that are currently out that we are working to get reinstalled. The one that you're referring to, we don't anticipate because of the size of the gate. So that was one we'll definitely sandbag. But the others, we are working to get those reinstalled. So we're hoping it's just one.
That's the valve that's failed at Gustav, I think, or at the airport?
Yes, it's near Dalman in front of the airport, yes.
Thank you all so much. We'll continue to keep you updated as the day progresses. Take care of yourself, take care of your families, and your neighbors and friends as well. Thank you.
But I'm a hell of a lot better than I was last year. If anybody calls me and need